What if the secret to living longer isn't hidden in a pill bottle or a new medical breakthrough, but in the quiet moments right after you wake up? Every morning gives us a chance to set the tone for the rest of the day. And for some people, those first few minutes after opening their eyes have become the foundation of a life that's not just longer, but richer and healthier. Today, we'll step into the lives of three remarkable people, all in their 70s and 80s, who have found their own unique ways to turn mornings into medicine. These are real habits, woven into real lives. Simple, doable things that can make a profound difference. If you're curious about how small changes can shape a better future, stay with us until the end. And if this message inspires you, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement today. Sometimes, one idea can change everything. Let's begin with Margaret. Margaret Lane, the quiet power of a slow morning. Margaret wakes up at 5:45 every morning. There's no alarm clock on her nightstand. Her body simply knows it's time, as it has for nearly 20 years. When she lost her husband, Walter, to a sudden heart attack, mornings were the hardest. But somewhere in the quiet after grief, she found her rhythm again. When she swings her legs out of bed, her feet touch a soft wool rug she placed there years ago. She pauses, closes her eyes, one hand on her chest, the other on her belly. And then she breathes. Slowly. 3 deep breaths, in and out. Margaret says those 3 breaths are her anchor. It's how I remind myself I'm still here. I still have a day to live, she once told a neighbor during a small gathering at the community center. After her breaths, she shuffles into the kitchen. The kettle is ready from the night before. She fills it, sets it on the stove, and cuts half a lemon. When the water boils, she pours it into her favorite white ceramic mug, squeezes the lemon, and carries it to the back door. She opens it wide to let in the early Vermont breeze, the birdsong, and the smell of pine. She sits. Just sits. Not scrolling through a phone. Not flipping through the news. Just holding her warm mug, feeling the steam on her face, watching the light change on the leaves outside. 10 minutes of this quiet ritual, her gift to herself every morning. Margaret doesn't call it meditation. She's never been to a yoga class. But in that stillness, her heart rate steadies, her mind clears, and she begins the day with peace instead of panic. Next comes movement, but nothing dramatic. She slips on her worn sneakers and steps out for a walk around the block. It's less than a mile, but it's enough to get her blood flowing. She carries a small canvas bag, stopping at the corner store for fresh berries or a loaf of bread. Along the way, she greets her neighbors by name, waving at the mail carrier, pausing to admire someone's garden. There's a tree on Maple Street I've been saying good morning to for years, she says with a laugh. It's older than me. Makes me feel like a kid. When she returns home, she stretches, arms overhead, shoulders rolling back, a gentle twist from side to side. These movements aren't from any fitness program. They're simply what her body asks for. Before breakfast, Margaret opens a small notebook and writes a few lines. Sometimes it's gratitude, thankful for sunshine. Sometimes it's humor, a joke she heard from her grandson. Writing helps her feel grounded. It keeps her connected to herself. Margaret lives alone. Her 3 adult children are scattered across different states. But she doesn't feel lonely. On Tuesdays, she calls an old college friend. On weekends, she teaches a small cooking class for retirees at her church. She shares recipes, laughter, and the simple joy of making something with your hands. Margaret's life isn't glamorous. There's no luxury car in the driveway or vacations in faraway places. But what she has is rhythm. A series of small acts that have carried her through loss, kept her strong, and, at 82, made her an example of how ordinary mornings can create extraordinary health. 1 deep breath. 1 warm cup. 1 gentle walk. 1 friendly hello. 1 line in a notebook. None of it takes much. But together, they've built a life that feels steady, meaningful, and alive. While Walter's morning might seem old-fashioned to some, researchers are now confirming what he has intuitively practiced for years. In fact, many centenarians around the world, people who live to be 100 or more, share remarkably similar habits, especially in the way they start their day. Let's take a closer look at what Walter does, and why each of these small actions may be quietly adding years to his life. First, there's the fresh air. Opening the window each morning may sound simple, but it's a quiet ritual that brings in more than oxygen. It signals the brain that the day has begun. Studies show that early exposure to natural light helps reset our internal body clock, or circadian rhythm. This rhythm affects everything from sleep quality to hormone balance. For older adults, aligning with natural light can improve energy, mood, and even reduce the risk of chronic illness. Then, there's the warm lemon water. It's not a miracle potion, but a gentle nudge to the digestive system. As we age, our digestion tends to slow down, and starting the day with hydration can make a big difference. Lemon adds a bit of vitamin C and a mild alkaline balance that supports the liver. More importantly, it replaces sugary drinks or coffee that may be too harsh first thing in the morning. The walk in the garden may look like a stroll, but it's actually one of the best things Walter could do. Walking, even slowly, gets the blood moving, wakes up the muscles, and stimulates the brain. A Japanese study once found that older adults who walk every day, even for just 15 minutes, have lower rates of heart disease and dementia. And when that walk happens in nature, among plants and trees, it has the added effect of calming the nervous system and lowering stress hormones like cortisol. Stretching, too, is one of those underrated habits. It keeps the joints lubricated and helps prevent stiffness, which becomes more common with age. But beyond the physical benefits, stretching is a moment of mindfulness, a way to check in with the body, to say, "I'm here. I'm listening." That awareness can reduce injury and help you feel more in control of your body's changes. Then comes the gratitude practice. Writing down just 3 small things each morning rewires the brain over time. Neuroscience has shown that gratitude shifts our focus away from fear and toward appreciation. In older adults, it's linked to better sleep, lower blood pressure, and even a stronger immune system. Walter isn't just staying positive, he's actively building resilience against life's challenges, one sentence at a time. And finally, connection. That one phone call each morning might be the most powerful thing of all. Loneliness has been called the new smoking by some researchers, with effects on health as serious as obesity or high blood pressure. But staying socially connected, even in small, daily ways, can dramatically reduce the risk of cognitive decline and depression. When Walter calls his granddaughter or his old friend, he's not just catching up. He's nurturing the web of relationships that keeps him mentally and emotionally alive. Put together, these 6 actions, fresh air, hydration, movement, stretching, gratitude, and connection, form a powerful foundation. They don't require a gym membership, expensive supplements, or high-tech gadgets. They require intention. That's it. A few minutes of mindful effort in the morning can set the tone for an entire day, and over the years, those days become a healthier, longer life. But what if you're not a morning person? What if the idea of waking up early sounds exhausting? You're not alone, and that's exactly what we'll explore next. Ellen's day didn't start with a sprint. It started with silence. At exactly 6 a.m., her eyes opened to the early light filtering through her bedroom curtains. There was no alarm. No rush. Just a quiet rhythm her body had grown to trust over the years. She sat up slowly and placed her feet on the floor, taking 3 deep breaths before standing. "Thank you," she whispered each time, a small ritual she believed grounded her for the day ahead. Ellen had always believed that how you greet your morning sets the tone for how the world greets you. For decades, she had followed a pattern, part physical, part spiritual. After stretching her arms gently overhead, she reached for her journal sitting on the nightstand. 5 lines. That's all she wrote. 3 things she was grateful for. 2 intentions for the day. At 75, Ellen lived alone in a small cottage near the Blue Ridge Mountains. Her husband, Walter, had passed away 10 years ago. Her children visited often, and the neighbors adored her. But she found her greatest companionship in nature and in herself. After her journaling, she stood and walked outside. Her garden, full of lavender, sage, and bright marigolds, greeted her with color and scent. She walked barefoot on the grass, even when it was a little cold. "It wakes up my soul," she once told a neighbor. Science might call it grounding or earthing. For Ellen, it was simply connection. A connection to something greater than stress, than worry, than age. She didn't rush her morning tea. Chamomile with a slice of ginger. As it steeped, she prepared her favorite breakfast, a slice of whole grain toast, half an avocado, and a soft-boiled egg. Not because it was trendy. She had eaten the same thing for 30 years. It worked for her digestion. It gave her energy. And it made her happy. By 7:30 a.m., she was seated on her porch, sipping her tea, listening to the wind play through the leaves. Her phone stayed inside. No news, no scrolling. Just birdsong and breath. This time, she called it her window to wonder. 10 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. Just being. Observing the world. Letting it remind her that she was part of it. Afterward, she opened her book. Something nonfiction. Something that challenged her mind, even if just a little. "If I don't feed my brain," she said once, "I might as well be asleep." But what truly stood out in Ellen's routine wasn't the tea or the reading. It was the warmth she extended to others. At 8 a.m., like clockwork, she called her old friend Judy, her childhood friend from North Carolina. Just a 5-minute call. Sometimes even less. They didn't talk about anything important. Just a good morning, a laugh, or a memory. But those calls were a lifeline. For both. Over the years, Ellen had faced loss, illness, and loneliness. But her mornings never faltered. They anchored her. They reminded her that life could be simple and beautiful, even if imperfect. Across the country, in a quiet neighborhood outside San Diego, lived Samuel, a retired postal worker with a laugh that could fill a room and a morning ritual that has remained unchanged for over 2 decades. At exactly 6:15 a.m., Samuel opens the back door of his home and steps outside barefoot. The ground is still cool from the night air. He tilts his face toward the sky, closes his eyes, and takes one long breath in. Then another. Then one more. 3 deep breaths, always 3. A habit he picked up while caring for his wife during her final years. "It's how I tell myself I'm still here," he says. "And that it's a good thing to be." Samuel isn't a man of many gadgets. He doesn't wear a smartwatch or track his steps. But every morning, he walks a path around his small backyard garden, 10 slow laps, just enough to get his blood moving. Sometimes he hums a tune from his youth. Sometimes he talks to the rose bushes. And sometimes he just walks in silence, letting his thoughts drift like clouds above him. After his walk, Samuel heads inside and does something that surprises most people. He dances. Not long, just 1 or 2 songs. Usually something from the 60s, Sam Cooke, The Supremes, or Otis Redding. He doesn't do it for cardio or exercise points. He does it because it lifts his spirits. "Movement," he says, "is how I talk to my soul in the morning." Then it's time for what he calls the heart meal, a breakfast that feeds both his body and his heart. A small bowl of oats topped with blueberries, cinnamon, and a splash of almond milk. A boiled egg on the side. And a cup of black coffee, always in the same chipped blue mug his wife gave him on their 30th anniversary. But the most important part of Samuel's morning happens after breakfast. He writes. Just 5 minutes. Sometimes it's a memory from childhood. Sometimes a thought about something he read in the newspaper. Sometimes a letter he'll never send. It keeps the wheels turning, he says, tapping his temple. And it gives me something to look forward to. Writing, for Samuel, is not about being profound. It's about staying in touch with his own voice. A way to notice the passing of time without fearing it. By 7:30, he sits on the porch with a crossword puzzle or a small book. He doesn't always finish the puzzle. That's not the point. The point is the quiet, the routine, the comfort of doing something gently challenging while the world wakes up. Neighbors pass by and wave. Sometimes they stop and chat. And almost every day, Samuel smiles and offers the same words, "Morning's the best part, isn't it?" It's not that Samuel's life has been easy. He's known grief. He's lived through war, through the loss of friends, through illness. But in the stillness of his mornings, he's found something unshakable. A peace that doesn't depend on health or wealth. Just rhythm, intention, presence. And that, more than any supplement, more than any special routine, is what seems to set people like Samuel and Ellen apart. They don't just wake up. They arrive into their day. They don't chase time. They honor it. And maybe that's the real secret to a long life. Not in fighting age, but in making peace with each morning, again and again. Maybe you've noticed something by now. Roy had his walnuts and morning light. Ellen had her tea and a few quiet pages of reflection. Samuel had his barefoot steps, his old soul music, and a pen that still dances every morning. Different people, in different places, with different routines, yet all living with the same quiet wisdom. How you start your morning shapes how you live your life. None of them were chasing extreme health trends. They weren't counting calories or steps, or trying to look younger than their age. What they all chose was intention. Small, meaningful acts done every morning, not out of obligation, but from love. Love for the day ahead. Love for the life they still have. Love for themselves. You don't need a complicated checklist. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. You don't need to do yoga on a mountain or drink something green and bitter. What you do need is to listen. Listen to your body when it asks for movement. Listen to your heart when it needs stillness. Listen to the silence between thoughts, where peace often hides. The truth is, the secret to longevity might not lie in something new or flashy. It may be in the things you already know but haven't made time for. The soft breath before the world stirs. The sunlight stretching across your table. The taste of warm tea and the quiet rustle of pages. A song. A walk. A laugh. A pause. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, pause for a moment. Before the news. Before the phone. Before the rush of everything. Ask yourself, what would make this morning feel like a gift? Then do that. Even if it's just one thing. Even if it only takes 5 minutes. Because sometimes, 5 minutes a day, done with care, can add not just years to your life, but life to your years. And maybe that's the truest kind of longevity. If you found this video meaningful, don't hesitate to hit subscribe and join us on this journey to healthier, longer living every single day. Each day, we share gentle yet powerful stories and habits, specially crafted for those who want to live not just longer, but deeper after 60. Thank you for staying with us until the end. See you tomorrow morning with a new habit just for you.